Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Victors Podcast. I'm Jeremy Brown, and unsurprisingly, it only took a few days for the Big Ten to fold and let their golden child into the Big Ten championship. Now, that being said, honestly, if Michigan was in the same situation and was 5-0, then yes, I would want them to be let into the Big Ten championship because they rightfully deserve to be there, but it's not the same situation, and let's not forget that earlier in the year, Nebraska wanted to reschedule a game to make up a game, so if they were eligible for the Big Ten championship, they wouldn't miss out. But the Big Ten said, no, we're not changing the rules. These are the rules set in place at the beginning of the year. This is how it goes. This is a COVID year. It's special. We have these special rules. They're not going to be changed. And then look at that. Ohio State just needs a few rules changed to get into the Big Ten championship, and they just let the doors wide open. They say, whatever you want. The Big Ten bows down to Ohio State, okay? Ohio State not only runs the Big Ten, but the Big Ten works for Ohio State. Ohio State gets anything it wants, Big Ten-wise, and it really just screwed Indiana over. Like, Indiana thought they were going there. They were preparing for the Big Ten championship. They're eligible, like the rules said, and then they got screwed, and that's just ridiculous. These are the rules you set in place, and it wouldn't be that bad if they showed that they would change the rules to help the teams earlier in the season with Nebraska, etc., but they didn't. They didn't change the rules when they could have, and they could have shown that they were flexible, and they didn't. And now they're just going to change the rules and act like nobody's going to care about it, but that's not how it works. You're going to get backlash for being stupid and being hypocritical. You can't change the rules when you said earlier in the season that you weren't going to change the rules. That's how it works. And then you act like, oh, well, Ohio State deserves to be there. I don't care if they deserve to be there or not. They didn't meet the requirement for games. And guess what? They didn't have to cancel that Illinois game. They didn't have the minimum requirement of the team out for which they would have to cancel the game. So don't try to tell me, oh, well, then they might have had to cancel the Michigan State game. Well, you just let that play out. You're taking preemptive measures that you don't even know if it's going to happen. You don't know if the Michigan State game was going to be canceled or not. So play the Illinois game and then play the Michigan State game. Play the Illinois game. If you can't play the Michigan State game, then you can't play it. But what you're doing is you're just screwing yourself, because what you're doing is you're canceling a game that you didn't need to cancel, and then next week you can play that game, but who knows? They could have just played both weeks, but they just screwed themselves. And listen, Michigan had 45 contact tracing cases. They had 13 cases that were growing. So it's not really Michigan's fault, obviously, and not at all. I don't think so. Anyone who wants to say that Michigan tried to screw Ohio State to keep them out, that's just ridiculous, and they're just ignorant and stupid. And first of all, the coaches don't decide it. The players don't decide it. Ward Manuel and the medical staff decide it, and that's it. That's who decides it. If you say they wanted to screw Ohio State over, I really don't think they would do that. If anything ever got out about that being true, it would screw the program. It would screw them worse than any stupid loss to Ohio State on any other year. So that's not even like negotiable. That didn't happen. And going back to the Big Ten championship, yeah, they just screwed Indiana over. They're just going to let Ohio State in there because Ohio State basically runs the Big Ten, and the Big Ten does whatever Ohio State wants. So you can say what you want. You can say, oh, for Michigan, they would have done the same thing, and I would have wanted them to, but that's not the situation. We can sit here and talk about hypotheticals all day, but Michigan's not going to the Big Ten championship. Michigan's not in that position. That's just a hypothetical, and it doesn't hold any merit to anything because it's not real. We're talking about what's happening right now, and what happened is the Big Ten said they're not going to show any flexibility in their rules that they made preseason, throughout the season, until now, when they just change it up for Ohio State. What else is there to say besides Ohio State gets whatever they want? I think by this point, this is just a fact, and it's sad to think about. There's nothing you can do about it, but I kind of want the national media to kind of pick that up more. I think they're just kind of brushing it off, because all right now anyone cares about in the national media of college football is the playoffs. That's all they ever do. They don't care about anything that happens or what it takes to get there. They just love talking about the playoff and who's the best teams. Not whether you play enough games to even make it to the playoff or whether you deserve it, but if you just look like one of the best teams, you get in. It doesn't matter if you didn't play enough games or the rules were just changed for you. It doesn't matter. You just get in because we like your team and they're pretty good every year, so we're just going to let them in anyways. So that's where it stands right now. This is the Victors Podcast. As always, go blue.